Hello and welcome to an ASMR video about these cards that I used to collect as a kid about battleships and carriers and submarines and all that whatnot. I didn't collect all of them, as you see it's quite thin, but I'm hoping that it'll be interesting nonetheless. So without further ado, let's take a look inside. So the first segment is capital ships, and the first one that we have here is USS Missouri, and what a great photograph that is. Let's zoom into it, and let's see what it says. Okay, Missouri, or Mighty Mo, gained immortality when the Japanese surrender was signed aboard her in Tokyo Bay in August 1945. She is now a museum at Pearl Harbor. So, each card has an abundance of information on it. It says that Missouri and her sisters were probably the best battleships ever built here. And I'll go to each one of these little segments, detailing the range that they did and the speed, 33 knots. And we have some technical data down here, so I won't spend too much time on each ship because there's quite a few of them. I think I'll just do the capital ships. So the next one is HMS Prince of Wales. See all the crew members there on the bow. So it says, the only modern Royal Navy capital ship to be sunk during World War II. She and the older repulsor succumbed to the Japanese land-based bombers 3 days after the attack on Pearl Harbor. And this is the speed or mileage that she did. Goes on about the disaster. And the class of ship, the King George V class. F is protection of all battleships built to the 35,000-ton limit. HMS King George V played a major role in crippling the Bismarck. Next one we have is HMS White. Actually, we'll see what it says on this one. The most battle-scarred British battleship of World War II. HMS White also fought in World War I, where she took off a jinx that had dogged her since 1918 and won a reputation for enjoying good luck. very badly damaged by Italian shipment torpedoes in Alexandria. Okay. This next ship we have is HMS Vanguard. Let's zoom in on that one. And this says Vanguard was the last battleship built for the Royal Navy in a line stretching back to HMS Warrior in 1859. She was also in many ways the best British design, although not the most powerful. 1944. 6,000 miles at 30 knots. Technical data. Okay, so the next one is HMS King George V. King George V. Okay. This one says, name ship of the last full class of British battleships to be built. The King George V was laid down on the 1st of January 1937 and launched on the 21st of February 1939. Completed and commissioned in December 1994. She was to see action in 4 oceans and in the Mediterranean, and was the last British battleship to fire her guns in anger. This one did 6,000 again, and she did 28.5 knots. And here is the technical data. Okay, so the next one we have is the Yamato, Japanese, of course. Zoom in on that one. And this one says launched on 8th of August 1940 at the State Shipyard in Kyoto. Yamato was the flagship of the Japanese fleet. She and her sister ship Musashi were the largest battleships in the world. (6,200 miles), 27 knots. And the technical data is this. So the next one is the HMS Queen Elizabeth. Okay, so we'll zoom in on this one. So 1913, Elizabeth was the lead ship of a class of battleships that fought in both World Wars. She did 6,000 miles, 24 knots. To the class of battleship also included the Wasp I, Baron and Malaya. They were sold for scrap in 1948. So the next one is Tirpitz, German, of course. Overhead shot, probably from a bomber. And 1939. For years, the Tirpitz was a lonely queen of the North, posing a continuous threat to the North Sea convoys between Great Britain and the Soviet Union, and as a result, she tied up substantial naval forces all on her own. So it goes on about the RAF using these tall boy bombs, and one of them hit and put the ship out of action. 32 Lancasters capsized. 971 men were drowned. So the next one is HMS Botany. What does it say about this one? So 1925. The Rodney was built with the experience of World War I, but subject to Washington Treaty and other international agreements limiting the size and number of capital ships. She was a part of the Sink the Bismarck campaign. She inflicted great damage on the German ship upper works. And 5,500 miles, 23 knots. Technical data. So the next one is the HMS Hood. And it says for this one, 1918 it was built. The largest capital ship in the world. When she was built, HMS Hood was sunk with heavy loss of life while engaging the German battleship Bismarck and the heavy cruiser Prinz Eugen in May 1941. They started work on a new class of battle cruisers, but the design was heavily modified after the loss of three battle cruisers at Battleships I. The mighty Hood captured the imagination of the press, and he saw considerable peacetime service. An old ship, poorly protected. There's no concrete evidence about the precise cause of the loss of the Hood. Clearly a magazine explosion broke the ship intake, but the exact sequence of events before cannot be established. So 7,600 miles. 31 knots. Technical data. And let's look at the ship that killed her, shall we? Which is, of course, the Bismarck. So, 1939, launched on February 14th February 1939 at the Hamburg shipyard. This Bismarck required the concentrated fire of half the British home fleet to sink her on 27th of May 1941. In her day, the world's largest battleship, Bismarck, was in service for 277 days. So it was the highest priority of the British fleet, and the fleet air arm, as evidenced by Churchill's famous order, sink the Bismarck. It took the efforts of half the British home fleet. His order was eventually carried out. Next one is HMS Puppets. And just to skim through these really, actually. This one was the Royal Navy's World War II vintage monitors were amongst the most curious ships in the fleet of the day, designed for but one purpose: the bombardment of shore targets with their 15-inch guns. The next one is HMS Barham, and this one says most of World War II, HMS Barham formed part of the Royal Navy's Mediterranean fleet. She was to perish in the Mediterranean with the loss of 862 officers and men after being hit by 3 torpedoes from 331. And the next one is HMS King George V. Constructed during a frenetic period of capital shipbuilding, the King George V was one of a class of 4 battleships laid down for the Royal Navy in 1911. The next one, we have another Yamato picture, the same one, but this one talks about the demise and the death of the battleship, and that talks about the planes beating battleships and the day of the battleship were gone, pretty much, because torpedo planes and all the rest of it. And it was caught while sailing. She was ordered to defend Okinawa, but was intercepted en route by US Navy's aircraft. And just skim through these ones. So this one's called Caio, don't know, Giulio. This was an Italian ship, 1913. She survived both World War Wars. And this one is called the Mum. However, it was so lucky, I don't think. So this one says, She never saw combat and perished on the hands of Italy's erstwhile allies while steaming to Malta to surrender. But Moma, last of the Italian fast battleships, represented the state of the art. Next one, we have the USS New Jersey. After the destruction of the 2 Yamatos, the Iowa class were the most powerful capital ships in the world, home to almost 2,000 men. They went through many changes in the careers that spanned 5 decades. It goes on about New Jersey's big guns. The most powerful the US Navy ever employed, though the Iowa's fired projectiles that weighed as much as a small car at a rate of 1 every 30 seconds from each of the tube. And the next one is the Scharnhorst. So 1936, like much of Germany's surface fleet during World War II, the Scharnhorst and its sister ship, the Gneisenau, were really effective only in that they towed down pressure British naval assets. So it goes goes on about its ornament here at the bottom. Apparently it was underarmed by contemporary standards, boasting only 11-inch compared to, let's say, the 15-inch guns of the Bismarck. Next one we have is province. And this one is French ship. And it says, almost a relic of a bygone age by the time of the fall of the France in 1940, having already been in service for 25 years, but there were momentous events still to come. And the next one is the HMS Canopus. This one says, at the head of a class of 6 first-class battleships launched in the last 3 years of the 19th century, Canopus was built in a response to the threat posed to the British Empire in Asia by Japan. And then if we slide across, we have the HMS Royal Oak. And let's see what it says about this. So, on October 1939, Great Britain, 6 weeks at war with Germany, woke to the shocking news that the First World War vintage battleship Royal Oak had been sunk at her mooring in Scarborough. The Royal Navy's base in the Orkney Islands by torpedoes from a German submarine. I think this guy is the German submarine captain. He was 24. He was to die within a year. This is where the Orkney Islands are. Just off the coast there. And the next one we have is the Pommern. Third member of the last class of 5 pre-dreadnought battleships constructed for the Imperial German Navy. Pommern was lost at the Battle of Jutland, torpedoed by a destroyer. And I think this is the last one off the top. Oh no, got 2 more, I think. HMS Repulse. Tragedy of Ambersons, the loss of the Repulse. The loss of the Repulse alongside the new battleship Prince of Wales to the Japanese carrier-based torpedo bombers 3 days after Pearl Harbor gave further proof, if any, really was needed, that the outright supremacy of the capital ship was a thing of the past. And it talks about HMS was regarded as having insufficient protection from gunfire. Almost ironically, her armour was much improved during her refit, while her sister ship, the Renown, received better protection against torpedoes instead. we have, I think, oh no, we've got two more, is another HMS Repulse one. With her sister ship, the renowned HMS Repulse was another attempt to realise the elusive 30,000-ton capital ship, foregoing armour and substituting more powerful machinery, relying on speed for protection. And the last of the capital ships that I have is the Littorio. And 1940, Italy. There was a rehearsal for Pearl Harbor, the Littorio at Taranto. The attack by Royal Navy torpedo bomber aircraft on the Italian fleet anchored in Taranto shook the world, even though they carried out by obsolescent aircraft. It showed very clearly that the day of the battleship was past and gone, and the aircraft carrier had the potential to carry all before it. Never heard of this. And if we go down, an aerial photograph taken on the 12th of November shows Littorio down by the head, surrounded by smaller vessels. So that was the first segment of my little folder. I will probably do a couple more videos of maybe the cruisers and aircraft carriers and submarines, but I hope that was interesting for you, and thanks for watching.